My name's Brianna Hardy, and I spend much of my time helping organizations understand and respond to new climate and sustainability disclosure requirements. With California's new laws set to impact thousands of companies, I wanted to share a quick update from CARB's most recent workshop. In just 5 minutes, I'll cover the highlights and what they mean for your business. On August 21st, 2025, the California Air Resources Board hosted a 3-hour public workshop that gave us much needed clarity on California's climate disclosure laws. And one thing was made very clear: CARB is moving full speed ahead with this implementation. Let's start with some of the reporting updates. CARB reiterated that TCFD reports are due by January 1st, 2026. No changes there. Reports must be publicly posted to your website, and you must submit the URL where you can find that report to CARB's docket, which opens December 1st, 2025. For the first reporting cycle, CARB introduced the idea of minimum reporting requirements. This means that greenhouse gas emissions disclosures and other metrics and targets, as previously recommended by the TCFD framework, are no longer required in the first year, nor is scenario analysis. However, if you already report this information, you are encouraged to include it. Organizations can also choose to align their report with the IFRS S2 climate disclosure standard, as this is an evolution from the TCFD. For greenhouse gas emissions, the first due date will be June 30th, 2026 for Scope 1 and 2 emissions from the previous fiscal year, and this should include the limited assurance statement. This means that organizations should begin securing assurance providers to conduct verification ahead of the June 30th deadline. Now, let's dive into some applicability. One of the biggest challenges with California's regulations so far has been the lack of clarity on definitions. Things like what counts as doing business in California and how revenue is measured are important criteria that help organizations confirm applicability. CARB is continuing to ask for stakeholder input here and has opened a public docket where you can submit feedback, and I encourage you to do so. On revenue, CARB has presented 2 proposals: defining revenue as gross receipts as defined in California's Revenue and Taxation Code, or total global sales or money received from a company's primary business activities. Organizations should consider their revenue values based on these 2 definitions. At the May workshop, staff considered pointing to the Revenue and Tax Code definition to define what it means to do business in the state of California. This states that you are doing business in the state if you are actively engaging in any transaction for the purpose of financial gain, you're organized or commercially domiciled in the state, or your California sales, property, or payroll exceed the thresholds set forth. CARB staff are exploring existing databases of US-based companies that could be used to establish what doing business in California means. They're working with various databases to identify covered entities, and a full list will be published in the coming weeks. The initial estimates indicate that about 4,000 companies will be covered by Senate Bill 261, and about 2,500 companies will be covered by Senate Bill 253. Do note, though, even if your organization does not appear on that initial list of in-scope organizations, it is still your responsibility to confirm applicability. CARB also previewed which assurance standards may be accepted, including ISA 5000, AA 1000, ISO 1460, and AICPA standards. Importantly, CARB did emphasize that they're looking to utilize the existing marketplace of independent third-party providers and will not be requiring CARB accredited verifiers to provide that limited assurance, which again is due on June 30th, 2026. Another important proposal that CARB shared during their workshop was related to program fees. They estimated that entities subject to Senate Bill 253 will pay roughly $3,000 annually, and entities subject to Senate Bill 261 will pay about $1,500 annually. Even though Senate Bill 261 is a biennial reporting requirement, that fee will still be annual. So what's next? Looking ahead, CARB will release a draft ruling for Senate Bill 253 this October. It will be open for public feedback and will be presented at the December CARB board meeting. So what are the big takeaways? CARB is not slowing down. Companies now have clear timelines and fee structures, and there's still time to weigh in on key definitions like revenue, doing business, and some of those proposed assurance standards. If your organization may be subject to these laws, now is the time to engage. whether that means preparing disclosures, securing assurance providers, or submitting comments to CARB's docket, which again, I strongly encourage you to do so. Thanks so much for your time. If you have any questions or would like to reach out, you can find me on LinkedIn. Thanks.